This video is about how to take measurements here at Southern Oregon University Costume Shop. This is the measurement sheet that we use here at Southern Oregon University. We take extensive measurements. You'll find every costume shop uses a different variation of this, and you can find many of them online. So at the top of this measurement sheet, there's some information to fill out before you get to the actual taking of the measurements. We want to write the client's name, the date it was taken, who took the measurements, if it's for production or which role, and then we can ask them their shoe size, ring size, their height, their general weight. For women, we want to know if they are, what their dress size is, bra, what size pantyhose or stockings they buy. For men, we want to know if they buy shirts, what their neck and sleeve is, what their trouser or trouser waist, trouser inseam, and then what size suit they wear. And then once we have that information, we can start taking the measurements. Down here at the bottom, we want to ask them if they have allergies or any other tattoos, piercings, things that we need to know about as costumers that we might not know if just by looking at them. So today's model is Sam, and the first thing we're going to do is tie a waist tape around her natural waist because we take a lot of measurements to and from the waist, and we want that waist tape on her as a benchmark. The easiest way to find the waist is to place your hands at the indent of the waist, ask Sam or your model to lean to her right and test that and come back up and find that natural break on the torso. I'm going to tie this around that and we're set. It's very helpful to have someone writing the numbers on the measurement sheet as you take the measurements. It makes the process go much faster. So finding the base of the neck, we're wanting to find where the neck leaves the torso, measure the circumference of that. Next, we're measuring shoulder point to shoulder point across the front and then across the back. The shoulder point is this bone here at where the collarbone comes out and ends here. That's the shoulder point. It is the sort of natural, Sam, if you'd raise and then lower your arm. It is sort of a natural continuation of this arm's eye curve. That's where you want to be measuring to. Front measurements are from the mid-shoulder point to the apex of the bust. Bust apex to apex. The next measurement, which is the front width, goes from this break point where the arm leaves the torso right here in front. And so we want to find 3 inches down from the neckline and measure from that break point from the arm and torso across the front to the other break point of the arm and torso. The back width is the very same, except it's 5 inches down, and it goes from that back break point where the arm leaves the torso across the back to the other side where the arm leaves the torso. Measuring the underarm to the waist is difficult to get in there. Ask your model to lift their arm, put a ruler in there as high up as it can go. Their arm will hold the ruler in place while you measure from the top of the ruler, which is the underarm, to the waist. Center front, neck to waist is there. Center back nape is that bone that's right at the top of your spine to the waist tape. The half girth measurement is from the waist tape down through the crotch, between the legs, and up to the waist in the back. Your model can help you take this half girth measurement by taking a half step apart and holding the measurement tape at the waist, holding that firmly, while you reach through, pulling the measuring tape close to the torso and measuring up to the back of the waist. The full girth measurement is from the center front base of the neck down the torso, through the legs, and up to the center back. So ask your model again to hold that in place, reach through, pull it smooth and up to the nape. Next we're going to do circumference measurements from the chest to the rib cage to the waist, and then 4 measurements at the hip. So we'll go through this quickly and I'll show you how that's done. Around the chest, you want to position the tape measure so that it is beautifully horizontal all the way around. You want to make sure the tape is horizontal, parallel to the floor, the front to the back on all of these measurements. Next is the rib cage measurement right under the bust. Again, make sure that tape is horizontal front to back and isn't slipping down. That will change the measurement. Again with the waist, again it's horizontal in the back. Now the hips, because hips often flare, and we want to map the circumference of that flare. So we take a measurement in this costume shop that is 3 inches down from the waist to find out what that is. And then we take a measurement 5 inches down, again, making sure it's horizontal. And then again, 9 inches down, or at the fullest part of the hip. We take a lot of measurements from the waist down to various parts of the leg. And so this would be waist to the mid-knee, at the front, at the side, and turn your back to me, and at the back. And you'll see I'm going over the apex of the derriere, and you noticed I went over the apex, curviest part of the hip. Next we want to take those same measurements, only from the waist to the floor, at the front, at the side, and again, thank you, at the back. When you're drafting trousers, it's important to know what the outseam and the inseam is. And so here again, the outseam is the waist to the floor. It's just a double check. And then the inseam, take a half step apart. Would you put this as high up in your crotch as possible? That is the inseam. And then we want to measure down to the floor, and that's the inseam measurement. Next, we're going to measure circumferences of the leg, starting with around the fullest part of the thigh, above the knee, below the knee, and then around the fullest part of the calf. Turn your back to me, Sam. So find the fullest part of the calf and measure that. Turn to face the camera again, and then around the ankle. Next, we're going to take measurements from the shoulder point to various parts of the arm. From the shoulder point to the elbow, from the shoulder point around the elbow to the wrist bone right here where the hand starts to break away from the wrist is where you want. The next measurement is the inner arm from the armpit to the inside of the elbow, and then again down to the wrist. The next measurement is from that same shoulder point straight down to the wrist. Next, we're going to be measuring circumferences of the arms, starting with the arm's eye. The area where the arm attaches to the torso is called the eye of the arm, or the arm's eye. So ask your model to lift their arm up a little bit so you can comfortably get the measuring tape around, and that is the measurement of the eye of the arm, or the arm's eye. For the rest of the arm circumferences, have your model bend their elbow. It expands the muscles in the bicep area and in the forearm area. So here's the bicep measurement. The elbow measurement wants to go from the crease of the elbow to the apex of the elbow and around. The forearm is around the widest spot on the forearm here. The wrist is at that break point from the hand to the arm here. To measure the hand, the measurement that this costume shop wants is that measurement of how small the wrist opening on the garment could be, but the hand could still get through. So can you do this with your hand? Great. You want to measure over the knuckles and around the thumb. Finding the crotch depth is easy. Ask your model to sit on a hard surface. An upholstered chair that is cushy will not work, so have them sit on a sturdy, hard surface. And what we're wanting to do is use our Taylor's square, or L square, and measure the distance from the table up to the waist tape. That's the crotch depth. The last set of measurements we'll take are the head measurements. The first one, we want to go from the middle of the forehead, around the head, over the occipital bone, which is that prominent bone right here at the back, and that is the head circumference measurement. The hairline circumference is exactly what that sounds like, starting here at the forehead, going down the back, around the back of the ear, and measuring where the hair begins all the way around the head, the hairline circumference. Next, we're wanting to measure from the ear to the other ear across the front. And the beginning point is where the top of the ear leaves the head. That break point across the forehead to the ear on the other side. So that's ear to ear across the front. We want to measure next ear to ear across the back, and again it's that break point where the top of the ear leaves the skull and across the center back occipital bone, that prominent bone here, and then back over to where the ear leaves the skull on the other side. Next, we're going to measure ear top to ear top. Turn and face me. And that is not the part where the ear leaves the skull, but indeed the top of the ear, across the top of the head to the tip or top of the other ear. The last measurement is the forehead to nape, and so we want to start again here at the front where the hairline is, measure across the top to the nape, and the nape is that crease at the back of the neck. Sam, can you tilt your head to the back? Yes, and then even out. So forehead to nape, or the crease at the back of the head.